That's very scary, very, very scary.
It's very scary. You don't know what's going on. You don't know if your house is going to blow up. You don't know if you're in danger.
A Richmond Hill neighborhood on edge tonight after police seize explosive materials and a detonator from a home. The discovery coming after police were tipped off by U.S. and Canadian border guards. Tonight, a father and his son are facing charges. Chris Glover is live outside the home where the materials were found. And Chris, police say the immediate danger is over, but neighbors have a lot of questions tonight.
The authorities say that they have safely removed all of the dangerous chemicals from this home behind me, and the evacuation order for this area has been lifted. And even though many things have gotten back to normal for a lot of the residents here, there's still an uneasy feeling. As crime scene tape comes down in this suburban neighborhood in Richmond Hill, anxiety is still way up for the dozen or so families who spent the weekend away from their homes, forced out by a mandatory evacuation. What was that like?
Awful. Yeah, we couldn't get into the house. We had no idea what was going on. My dog was in the house. It was very, very stressful, very traumatic.
All the neighbors knew was what they could see. York Regional Police and the OPP executing a search warrant.
They didn't make a noise. It was quiet. That's why I didn't hear it. But when I was going dark in my house to go up the stairs, it was blinging in my window. All the lights were blinging.
Last Thursday, border officials in Canada and the U.S. tipped off York Regional Police. They had information about what might be happening in this home. Then Friday, police moved in to find hazardous explosive chemicals along with a detonator.
As far as the motive behind this, it's still unclear as to why they had all these materials, what it was they were attempting to do or make. So a very active and ongoing investigation.
Never seen even a small minor theft, any robberies, nothing. And suddenly once we hear about the explosives, and so wow, it's very scary.
It's definitely unnerving, but I mean, I think given the fact that the police, were there and dealt with the situation is peace of mind, and I have faith in them to know what they're doing and take care of it appropriately so that it'll be safe going forward.
Police won't say what chemicals they located, but the 47-year-old father, Reza Mohammedaisal, and his 18-year-old son, Mehar, have now been charged with possession of an explosive device.
Quiet, unassuming, very friendly, nice family.
Jill Garazi says the family moved in about 5 years ago.
It's very scary. You don't know what's going on. You don't know if your house is going to blow up. You don't know if you're in danger. You don't know anything.
Even though the lights were on at the home today, no one was answering the door. The wife's sister, seen leaving, says no one was hurt. Is everybody okay? Like physically okay?
Physically okay.
Reza Mohammedaisal runs an electrical company out of the home, but generally it seems the family kept to themselves.
I know almost everybody in my, except them.
What does that signal?
Well, they were up to something no good. Now it's been revealed. You should, as being a residential person, I think you should know pretty much your neighbors and the very.
While these charges are scary, it's important for people to remember that they are just charges and nothing has been proven in court yet, Dwight.
Yes, exactly, Chris. We've also heard from federal officials today. Is there a wider safety concern here, though?
CBC spoke with the federal minister responsible for public safety, and Ralph Goodale said that at this point they do not believe that there's any sort of national security threat, and this has been handled by the local police agency. Dwight.
Thank you, Chris. A man is facing impaired driving charges tonight after his wife and 7-year-old son were struck in the driveway of their Brampton home. Police were called to the home near Bovaird and Mississauga Road around 8:30 this morning. Both the woman and child were rushed to hospital after being hit by the vehicle. Now the child's injury is said to be life-threatening. The woman is now in stable condition. A baby believed to be just days old abandoned outside a fire hall north of the city. Now police are trying to track down the baby's parents or anyone who knows more to make sure mom is okay. Lorena Redekop explains.
The baby was dropped off in the middle of the night at this fire station in Sutton, part of the town of Georgina. The fire chief says paramedics took the baby to hospital. Thankfully, the infant was fine after his time outside.
My understanding is that the baby is likely no more than 2 days old, so this is a brand new newborn baby that was left there.
Police are investigating, looking for help from anyone who may know more. There is a chance charges could be laid.
Don't want to rule anything out, but our focus right now is on the mother's health and making sure that she is okay. So we would really like her to reach out and contact our investigators to make sure that she's all right.
Crews had been out on a call last night. When they came back, one of the firefighters heard a baby crying. It was around 3 a.m. They came out, and it was around this area they discovered a baby boy wrapped in a blanket.
For someone to feel that they had to go to that extreme with a baby must have been very frightened, or I don't know, but it's very sad.
The case had everyone talking at the local coffee shop and drawing comparisons to a storyline on the popular TV show This Is Us.
I wonder if they watched that show and this is something they felt it was a safe place to leave a baby. But I mean, it's sad, eh? But we're happy that the baby is fine.
Okay, yeah.
Now we need to know if the mother is fine.
A local pastor says it points to the importance of agencies that can help.
I think it highlights that there are still a lot of problems in our community and the need for support, social supports, but that in times of trouble, people still turn to the traditional places.
The baby is now in the custody of the York Region Children's Aid Society. Lorenda Redicomp, CBC News, Georgina.
You may have been woken up this morning by an Amber Alert on your phone. It was issued at 5 a.m. to help find a 3-year-old boy. A few hours later, he was found safe in a downtown condo. It was a call to a tip line after the alert went out that helped locate the boy and his mother. Now, the two were dropped off at a mall in Sudbury on Monday. Around noon, the boy was supposed to be returned to his grandmother, and when he wasn't, she called police. Around 3 this morning, an employee at the Sudbury bus station said the pair had been seen boarding a bus to Toronto on Monday afternoon. The alert went out at 5 a.m. today, and by 7:30, the boy was found safe in a condo near Fort York Boulevard and the Lakeshore area. Sudbury police are now investigating whether any charges will be laid. And as we said, that sound was the wake-up call from many people in the province today. Amazingly, people are still calling 911 to complain about the alerts. Both police in Sudbury and Toronto have confirmed that calls were made to 911 to complain about being woken up. Police tweeted out a reminder that 911 is for emergencies only and that being upset about the Amber Alert is not an emergency matter.
Sandbags, sand, pools of water. The situation looks a lot like the flood of 2017, except it's not. I'm Natalie Nanowski, and I'll have more on how the Toronto Island is preparing for a possible flood.
Let's get straight to Colette. You know, we've had it up in Bracebridge. Now in Toronto, I understand folks in Bowmanville are dealing with the flooding, Colette, all around the GTA.
Yeah, that's right. And we do, as we look ahead into the forecast through this week and into the holiday weekend, we do have some showers that we're going to be seeing. I don't see any heavy, intense rains coming our way, but it's not always all about that, right? It's about our water levels rising, even when we add anything to this. So I'm going to talk about that in a moment. I also want to talk about a warming trend that we have coming our way. You know, not too bad today. It was better than yesterday. Well, tomorrow gets even better still. So just have a look into Wednesday afternoon. At least 18 degrees is what I anticipate for us, as the winds are going to turn, at least for the beginning of the day, to more of a southerly direction. And then what's going to be happening is as we get through the week, we're going to find Thursday slightly cooler, a high of 16, and then riding ahead towards Friday, 20 degrees as we head into that holiday weekend, and then 17 as we go into Saturday. But at least, you know, at this time of year, we should be around 18.5, so at least we're closer with those afternoon highs. Currently, we're sitting at 15 degrees right now in the city. We do have those showers mostly off to the east of us, not affecting the city or the island at this time. And what's going to happen is that we're actually going to see a drying trend overnight tonight and to start the day off tomorrow. And then tomorrow afternoon, we get into a chance of seeing another shot of some light showers. They should be pretty scattered, but just know that that opportunity is there tomorrow afternoon, so you're going to want to have your umbrella around. 6 degrees overnight tonight, and as I say, Dwight, that temperature going up to 18 degrees tomorrow afternoon.
And we need that and some sunshine, too. Thank you, Colette.
You're welcome.
Now, with all this rain, we know the Toronto Islands could flood again. We've been keeping an eye on the situation for the 3 past weeks now. And now Lake Ontario is just 20 centimeters away from the damaging 2017 water levels. Nellie Nanowski was there then and checked in to see how things compare today.
To stop the situation from getting any worse, you have city officials right behind me over here. They're making sandbags.
That was 2 years ago. This year, there is a little bit of pooling, and the sandbags are all lined up, ready to go. But the difference in 2019 is that there is a sense of calm on the island. People feel that if the water levels reach those of 2017, this time around, they're ready for it.
The water came crashing up through here. All this area was completely swamped.
Mike French is with the Toronto Islands Emergency Preparedness Committee. He says there were a lot of lessons learned from 2017.
The city's purchased a few of these aqua dams, provides a beautiful contiguous barrier against the lake, which is fantastic. In 2017, our action was to use these meter bags, but if they weren't tightly packed together, allow water to get through it.
If water breaches the barrier, strategically placed pumps are ready to empty the 9 newly installed cisterns.
So this is the strategy. Create a barrier, set a pump up in here, so if water accumulates, we can pump it out faster than it's coming in.
Rebuilding the ferry dock is also supposed to be a game changer.
We rebuilt the docks for the ferries, the ferry docks, back in 2017. They couldn't safely dock on the island. Now they're able to do that.
Despite the updates, water's creeping into places it doesn't belong.
Right now we have about 2 inches of water that's building up in here.
Oh, wow.
In 2017 it got up to about 12 inches.
Oh, there you go. Now you can see. So it's about 2 inches. So when you hear something right now, like we're only about, I think it's 20 centimeters away from what the levels were in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
How worried are you?
I wouldn't say worried, but we're just cautious and we're concerned. I think we're ready this time.
We should know in the next few weeks if the islands will flood for the second time in a century. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
Mayor Tory coming out ahead of a council meeting today to address the nearly $200 million shortfall the city is facing due to cuts by the province. The mayor says he's asked to sit down and talk with provincial officials, but his request is being met with silence.
If they identify efficiencies, maybe some that we can come up with together, maybe some that are at our doorstep, I'm very willing to have that discussion. But when we sort of make that offer publicly and privately, the answer is no answer.
City officials revealing today Toronto Public Health is facing a further $20 million funding cut from the province. That's on top of a shortfall in the tens of millions of dollars already reported. In all, the funding changes have Toronto staring down a $178 million shortfall this year. A tax increase or service cuts are being looked at to address that gap, but councillors want to explore all the options first.
My first questions are exactly what are the services that this affects? Is it affecting things that we are obligated to deliver based on policies or legislation from the province, or are they more discretionary services that City Council can make a choice to reduce service levels?
So there's a miscommunication that is happening, and at the end of the day, we see these cuts come to us fast and furious and being retroactive. So this nonsense has to stop.
Councillors voted today 25-1 to back a motion from the mayor calling on the province to reverse the cuts to the city's 2019 budget. Premier Ford is accusing the Toronto District School Board of fear-mongering over holes in its budget. The board is warning there may be cuts to arts and language programs. Lisa Shing has more.
Is the Premier ready to admit now that his education cuts are actually hurting students?
Unsurprisingly, the Premier did not bite. Instead, Doug Ford dismissed the NDP's question on the Toronto Public Board's projected $67 million shortfall, $42 million of which the board says is provincial money.
The numbers that the TDSB put out was absolutely reckless. It's the old scare tactics, Mr. Speaker. Political stunts like this only serve to cause anxiety with parents and with students.
Ford also accused the school board of spending money recklessly.
$2,500, Mr. Speaker, on a whiteboard. $700,000 to replace some locks. $143 on a pencil sharpener.
TDSB says these references are from years ago and were addressed at the time, and says the shortfall could mean cuts to French immersion and busing to schools offering the program, plus scaling back on the number of music instructors.
That's going backwards.
That does a disservice to our students and the quality of their education.
The province's education minister maintains the board simply needs to be better at spending money.
We want to take a look at how all school boards are operating and how we can embrace modernization.
Thompson's office points out the board's budget is about $3 billion and the province's cut is only a fraction of that. Now, all of this is happening in the wake of some uncertainty. Earlier this year, the province announced it would be increasing class size averages, resulting in the elimination of more than 3,000 teaching positions through attrition in order to balance the budget. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
After years of scandals around discrimination, there are new allegations of racism involving the York School Board. I'm Nick Boisvert. Coming up, I'll have details about a $1 million lawsuit that's just been filed against the board.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
He dreams of being on stage with the big names in rock and roll, but for now, a precious little drummer boy in Manitoba has to get through a lot of other firsts.
I like songs. I like banging on them.
4-year-old Atlas Axel can keep a beat with the best of them. His father says he's been like that since he could swing a spoon and bat a bottle. Atlas and his dad practice every day. His current favorites are the Smashing Pumpkins and the Foo Fighters. His dream is to play with superstar drummer Dave Grohl. But first, he has to finish kindergarten.
What the hell was it? A wild animal? This is really awful. Maybe the worst thing I've ever seen.
What was it, wild animals?
So what are you thinking? I'm thinking zombies. What?
The Cannes Film Festival has officially opened with a screening of The Dead Don't Die. The cast of the zombie comedy walked the red carpet. As usual, lots of buzzy films and a little bit of controversy at this year's festival. Yana Adzik is here with the details. Always fun to watch this from afar.
Yeah.
What can we expect this year? Because I'm pretty surprised that they're opening with a zombie movie at Cannes.
It was really surprising, and especially for just how gory it is, but they're obviously trying to get that general audience appeal, and also they've got a lot of big stars. I'm going to give you a look at them because they were on the red carpet for the premiere. So you see Chloe Sevigny, the indie darling. You see Adam Driver. There's the director, Jim Jarmusch. Tilda Swinton's in this one as well. And there you get a look at Bill Murray. And also worth noting, Selena Gomez. Yes, she is in this movie along with RZA from Wu-Tang as well as Tom Waits. So yeah, just a lot of big names behind this one. So that's The Dead Don't Die. Okay, once you get past that big glitzy premiere though, we got to talk about a few other buzzy films. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This takes us on a journey back to Quentin Tarantino's. It's a retrospective of his career. So Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it was ready in competition just recently, and this is one that really is on the backdrop of the Manson murders, and it stars Brad Pitt as the stuntman for a Hollywood actor. Now this is reportedly based on Burt Reynolds. It's played by Leonardo DiCaprio. Margot Robbie's also in this one, and she plays the tragic late actress Sharon Tate. So a lot of people are talking about that film. Seems like a very dark and heavy kind of film. One that's more on the lighter tip, or at least a certainly more entertaining, glitzy kind of tip, is Rocket Man. So Rocket Man is one on Elton John's life.
Yes.
This is a biopic. Interesting because usually when a person agrees to have a biopic, you're not getting the dirt, right?
No.
It's not going to. But Elton John is one of the producers on here, and he says, I allowed them to show the ugly sides of me, the warts and all, so it might make it for
That's our Elton.
more interesting. Yeah. I'll give you a look at that one right now.
Don't you want to just sing without this ridiculous paraphernalia? People don't pay to see Reg Dwight. They pay to see Elton John. Sorry. I know.
That's how I treat Dwight when we're out there.
I do want to see that one.
It looks good. But yeah, and the one quick one I just wanted to mention too on the Canadian end of things, Xavier Dolan, give you a quick look at him because he's got one called, it's a Montreal shot film called Matthias and Maxime, and what's cool is that that's actually going to be included in the main competition, so he might get the Palme d'Or, which is the Biggie Award.
You know what? We'll give one thing to the French of this country. They make great films, better than the English side of the country. It's not Cannes without controversy.
No. Listen, last year, you and I had this discussion last year about the gender parity issue, really the lack thereof. And so last year, if you recall, 82 different actresses, they walked up on that red carpet. And this is because only 82 women have been represented at Cannes since the beginning of this long-running film festival. So what's the deal now? How's it this year, you ask? Well, they've managed to get 4 women in out of a total of 21 films in competition. So we're looking at about 19%. It's not really that great. It matches the record that was held in 2011. So clearly there is a bit more work to do, but the head of the Cannes jury and a lot of other people are saying they're trying their best. It happens to be Iñárritu. He's the director of Roma. He's the chair of the jury this year. And so they're saying that they want to have more transparency as to how the films are selected. And they do have 50% women, 50% men as far as the people selecting the films. So they're trying, but obviously there's more strides that they can accomplish in the future.
Come to our film festival and take some tips.
Toronto does well.
Yes, we do. Thanks, Yelena.
Talk to you soon.
I'm Greg Ross, live at Pfizer Forum in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where the Raptors are getting set to play Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final. We'll have a complete preview coming up right after this.
A former violin teacher acquitted of sexual assault involving 21 of his former students was back in court today after the Crown appealed the decision. The allegations against Claude Trachy happened as long as 40 years ago. Many of the teenagers he taught are now middle-aged, and about a dozen of the women and their supporters were in court today. We have agreed to keep their identities a secret.
I was just looking at a high school picture of me and recognizing how very vulnerable I was at that point in my life, how naive and young I was, and how he took advantage of that. I was really, really uncomfortable. It made me nauseous. It was just one of those things where you stared at the wall and let somebody do something just so you could move on with your lesson.
Last year, Trachy was acquitted of 51 sex assault-related charges. He admitted to touching the breasts of his young female students, but he said it was for the purpose of measuring them, and the touching was not sexual. The judge at his trial last year accepted his evidence, but the Crown today said the judge minimized the touching that the girls experienced. He asked the appeal judges to convict Trachy or order a new trial. They have reserved the decision and are reviewing the case. The York School Board is facing new allegations of discrimination. A family says the board failed to protect a student who was targeted with racist bullying. They say the taunts led to fights and long-term psychological damage. As Nick Boisvert reports, the two sides are now heading to court.
For one black student at a high school in Newmarket, his school year looked like this. His mother says bullying by older students started in September. That's when her son started high school at J.M. Denison Secondary. She says he was told to kill himself and was racially slurred.
It's not just the one time where there was an incident. It's numerous times.
When Jacqueline Howell and her family took those concerns to the school, she says they didn't offer much help.
I visited the school numerous times, countless times. Something is not right with my son. To help me address it so that he could feel comfortable in the school. But they didn't help me at all.
Her family's now filed a $1 million lawsuit against the York School Board. It claims the student suffered physical injuries and psychological trauma. Most critically, the lawsuit says the board knew it was happening, but refused to step in.
That's where the systemic racism is. It's the school not acting to protect the student who's being bullied with racism and violent threats.
The specifics in this case are new, but allegations of racism have plagued the York School Board for years now. In 2017, a trustee resigned after using a racial slur in reference to a black parent, and a recent provincial audit found a culture of discrimination. The board says it has made changes and that this case was handled with care.
All allegations of racism are taken very seriously, and there's no question that this particular one was indeed taken seriously.
The lawsuit claims the bullies were suspended, but so was the plaintiff. The school board can't confirm any of that due to privacy concerns, but it says changes are coming. That could include enhanced equity training for staff and more resources for students. Nick Boisvert, CBC News, Toronto.
If you use WhatsApp, you may want to think about updating the latest version. A serious flaw has been uncovered in the popular app. We'll tell you about it coming up a little later in the show. Our city is gearing up for yet another exciting round of playoff basketball. The first game for the Raptors in the Eastern Conference Final is tomorrow. This is just the second time in franchise history our Raps have made it this far. Greg Ross just got to Milwaukee and is live for us outside of Fiserv Forum right now. Greg, we usually see Jurassic Park. What's the setup down there? It doesn't look as good as ours, I'm going to say.
Well, our producer here, James Waddy, was just telling me he thinks it looks better. They have something that they like to call the Deer District, and it's right behind me here. Let's take a walk. So there's the Fiserv Forum right over here. This is the brand spanking new stadium for the Milwaukee Bucks. In fact, it just opened this year. And right outside the stadium, they have a courtyard just like they do at Scotiabank Arena for Jurassic Park. And this is where they have their tailgate parties before the games. And even when the games are on the road. They've got the stage set up here. This is where the TNT guys, the broadcast crew, are going to be. Shaq, Charles Barkley will be right there for the game. And there will be thousands of fans here cheering on their Bucks outside the arena and thousands more inside the arena. Now everybody is talking about Bucks. You can see they've got these Fear the Deer signs everywhere, all over the city. This is a city that is so excited to have playoff basketball. Hey, this is a team that hasn't won a championship since 1971, and the last time they were in the Eastern Conference Final was 2001. So everybody talking about the Bucks, but people in Toronto still talking about that big shot from Kawhi Leonard, the one that bounced off the rim 4 times to win Game 7. And Kawhi was asked about that shot today as the Raptors practice in Toronto before flying to Milwaukee, and he says it's time to move on.
When you have your mind focused on one thing, and that's winning a game, then it's just time to shift over from there. That's why you got to stay even keel in this league. You don't get too low or too high. Till it's all done, and that's what I try to pride myself on, just staying level-headed and going into the next game.
I find it interesting, right, that many people are watching, and that many people are really watching, and how many people said they, it was so close. I was breathing heavy, and I had almost, I was, oh my God, it was so hard on me, and all that kind of stuff. I find it interesting, and I find it great. I think my college coach, Eldon Miller, one time, I remember him saying that, everybody's worried about the result, and it's good, man, and we'd rather have them worrying about that than a lot of other things.
Now, the Bucks were the NBA's top team this year. How are the fans feeling heading into Game 1 down there?
There's a lot of confidence in this city, and rightfully so. They just knocked off the Boston Celtics in 5 games in the second round, and they looked very good. They've got their big star, Giannis, right there, who you can see is front and center on the side of the arena here. These fans are excited. And how many games do you think here's a Bucks fan right here. How many games do you think this is going to go?
Bucks in 6.
Bucks in 6. I'm hearing a lot of Bucks in 6. I heard one woman say a sweep. This guy over here, you say 5 games?
5, yeah. Yeah, we'll give you 5. We'll give you 1 at home.
All right. You got a Milwaukee Brewers fan here, too. Brewers, too.
They'll come back, though.
Okay, so the Brewers not doing so well, but here we go. So it's everybody here saying it's going to be a quick series, and it's going to be the Bucks. I think people in Toronto have other ideas, Dwight.
Raptors in 6. We got this. Thanks, buddy. Have fun down there. Someone who is a familiar face at our arena is also headed to Milwaukee. Superfan Navatia is heading down to the Bucks Arena for Game 1 and 2. I sat down with him and Dwayne Watson from NBA TV Canada for a Facebook Live today to talk about the upcoming series and, of course, the shot that got us there.
I think I can definitely say in my lifetime, I have watched 24 years of Raptors at home without missing a single minute.
Wow.
And gone to a lot of playoff games, every playoff games which Raptors have gone.
Yep.
I was also in Philadelphia in 2001 for the other shot.
For when Vince missed.
Yes. But this is it. This was, I tell you, the biggest moment in my basketball journey so far.
I think for a lot of us.
And I tell you, for a lot of us,
Yeah.
and anybody watching on the TV, anybody there, anybody in Jurassic Park, I think every fan all around Canada celebrated this moment together, and I think almost in the similar way.
Yeah.
We were
jumping
this
and
was
screaming.
never happened before.
No.
And didn't think, I'm having shivers right now talking about it again. We didn't think the ball is going to go. I sit next to the Philly bench, right there. And everybody was up and saying, no shot, no shot, overtime. And you know what? I think this is the biggest assist we have gotten from God Almighty.
Whatever God you praise, you think he tipped that ball.
He tipped that ball in our favor.
And we do appreciate it. Mr. Watson, you and I talked at the beginning of the season about whether this was going to work, this experiment, this load management with Kawhi Leonard. We are putting a lot on this guy to deliver for this team. He was supposed to come here and be our superstar savior. He delivered.
He's delivered. I mean, without question, I think that's the thing. Load management worked in his favor because preserve him from the playoffs. In the playoffs, he played at a whole new level. Like, we didn't know he was this good. I think we saw him at the Spurs, but now with like having his freedom to create with the Raptors, he's carrying this team, and I think this is exactly what they brought him for, and I think there's more to come.
I don't think that he has played. He was playing that good that day.
No.
He missed a lot of shots.
He wasn't.
He missed a lot of shots that day.
He was the guy for them.
He was. You know what he has in the series,
He's
in
put
the
us on
last
his
two
back and
series,
carried us.
he has carried us.
Definitely.
You know, that's true.
All right, you and I mean, we could sit here all day talking all amongst ourselves, but we got to get to the people on Facebook and Twitter out there. They're already chiming in. The first question, this is from Hari on Instagram, and he wants to know, would you count the season a success if we end up losing in the Eastern Conference Final to these Bucks?
It's a good question. I think moderately, yes, it's success because we've gotten further than we have before. But I think the finals has got to be the goal, and I think they brought Kawhi to go all in with this team. I think if they make it to the finals and if Kawhi leaves, which we don't want to talk about.
Let's not talk about that today.
But I still think it's a success because I think this team has never been to the finals. Only 2 teams can make it. I think it's a lot for the franchise. So, yeah, I think it's a positive success.
Now we're in the Final Four. This is part of the plan. If we don't get swept by the Bucks, was it a success then? Because that's all I'm worried about, getting swept
We're not
in these
going to get
conference finals.
swept. We are going to get that series in 6 or 7.
6 or 7.
No
6
sweep.
or 7.
No
We are going to get that
You heard it here,
series
folks.
6 or
Do you think
7.
there's a sweep?
I don't think
That's
there's going to
what
be
I
a
said.
sweep, but that's what I'm
You don't need
afraid
this guy.
of. I'm looking at our past history, and the last time we got
so
there,
are you one of the
and I'm
Raptors fans
worried.
that before Game 7 was like, oh, it's
I'm
over?
so worried. I will admit I was a little afraid.
Trust in Kawhi.
I'm scared for my team, but I do have faith in Kawhi. Question from Theo. This one is coming through Instagram. Theo wants to know, what do the Raptors have to do differently to help Kawhi out? Because one of the questions during the series, and you said it, he's our savior, put us on his back, but he needs support. What do the other players on this team need to do to help Kawhi help us win?
I think a lot of what I saw was, we had a game in the Philly series where the Raptors were passing up open shots, and there was games where they were missing open
I
shots.
thought Gasol on top a few times with that three-pointer.
Yeah, so I think
it.
we had a game where everyone stepped up, and I think the balance. These guys, they're a good team. We've seen what they've done this year, but they haven't played to their efforts. And I don't want to say they're shrinking in the moment, but Kawhi's done so well. I think these guys have to help support him in that case. And I think if the remaining stars like Kyle, Gasol, Danny, Pascal, who's been really good, put points on the board, that's just going to make it easy for Kawhi.
Yeah, but I think we haven't seen the best of our team yet.
Oh, agreed.
And you know what? I got to give shout out to Lowry. He did an amazing job.
Toughness.
And sometimes his efforts, his sacrifices don't show on the stats.
For sure.
But what he does, I see that personally. I see that right there. Him diving on the floor, going after the ball, getting his finger popped, and then coming back again right after.
His energy in that game
his
was
energy
was really
and
good.
also Ibaka, I believe that we were offensively, that game was not the best game for either of the teams. But defensively, I believe we did well. And now I believe in the next series, we match up well with Milwaukee. Yes, it's going to be they are the number 1 in the league.
Best record in the league.
Record in the league. So let's not be complacent about it.
Yeah.
But I believe if we are all team together on the same page and do everything right, I think we are going to get them.
All right. Did you call it in 6? You think we were going to take this in 6?
Maximum 7.
7.
7. Yeah, I'm gonna go with 6. Those game 7s are good for my heart. I can't handle those game 7s. Lots of fun with those gentlemen today, Colin. I got to get your number. I'm still going to stick with 6. I think we're not afraid of the deer. I think our Raptors are going to come back to the north with some venison burgers. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I like how you put that. I was afraid you were going to ask me because I've actually not let myself go there in terms of how many games is it going to take. And I'm a little, concerned about this series. I think we can do it. I'm going to go with you in 6 because I don't want to go to a game 7 again.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and show you what's going on with our temperatures out there. It was a little warmer today than yesterday. It's going to get even better over the next few days. So we've got lots of things to look forward to besides our Raptors. We've also got the temperatures warming up. Right now it's 15 degrees. It's not too bad out there. I know it felt cool earlier, and we still have that wind coming from more of a northerly direction. So because of that, it does feel a little chillier. And then over towards Pickering and kind of areas through the east, we've had Oshawa through that region and beyond. Some showers, light spotty stuff Most of it is tracking southward, but staying to the east as well. So that'll just kind of continue that progression through the overnight. But what happens tomorrow is we start off, there will be some clouds out there, but there should be some sunshine as well. It looks pretty good. It's just that as we get into the afternoon hours, we'll start to see the clouds increasing and some isolated showers popping up tomorrow afternoon, that risk into the early evening. So something to just keep in mind. You might get caught. I would have an umbrella. I will have an umbrella around just in case. Primarily, though, it's going to be a drier day and a milder day because those winds are going to turn around to a more southerly direction. So that's positive. Thursday, also what's positive is things starting out pretty nicely with sunshine. It's late in the day where we'll see the clouds roll in, and then it'll be Thursday night into Friday morning. We get another chance, another shot at some shower activity. Overnight tonight, though, quieter conditions, 5 to 6 degrees for our overnight lows. There'll be periods that'll be almost clear, but I'm putting in partly cloudy because we will see some cloud cover. And then tomorrow, again, kind of hit and miss where we might see some wet conditions. But look at these temperatures. I'd rather focus on that. The fact that seasonal at this time of year is 18.5, and we're going to get that temperature up to 18 degrees at least. Thursday, slightly cooler there, but Friday, 20 degrees. Into the holiday weekend, it does look like we have a chance, at this point anyway, it's pretty far out there. It looks like a chance for some showers, likely on Sunday more so than Saturday, Dwight.
We'll take that warm up, though. Thank you, Colette.
You're welcome.
Some big security concerns today linked to a popular app we all use. WhatsApp has long billed itself as a fast and secure way to communicate, but hackers have figured out a way to access private conversations within it. Now, Facebook, which owns the app, is urging users to update their phones and devices. Thomas Daig has the details.
This newly discovered spyware exploited a vulnerability in WhatsApp's call function. So beyond just being able to message back and forth with users, WhatsApp allows you to call another WhatsApp user like Skype or FaceTime. And with the vulnerability in that feature, you didn't even have to pick up the call for the spyware to take hold and for the hacker to gain access to your smartphone's microphone and camera. WhatsApp is Facebook owned. Facebook has had its own privacy controversies recently, but what WhatsApp prides itself in is being practically hack-proof with so-called end-to-end encryption, meaning supposedly only the sender and the recipient are supposed to be able to read the messages. WhatsApp says its software engineers have identified the problem. Their experts have released a patch in the latest update. So if you're a WhatsApp user, go to your phone and make sure you have the latest update from the iOS or Android App Store. Now, experts are pointing to the NSO Group, a Israeli cybersecurity firm, as the source of this spyware. They make tools that sound a lot like what we're hearing about in this spyware attack. I was in touch with NSO today. Here's part of the statement they emailed to me. NSO's technology is licensed to authorized government agencies for the sole purpose of fighting crime and terror. We investigate any credible allegations of misuse, and if necessary, we take action, including shutting down the system. Problem is, Amnesty International says sometimes NSO's technology isn't just used by well-intentioned authorities. Listen.
They do sell to governments to use to fight crime and terrorism. But over the last couple of years, there's been mounting evidence that actually their technologies are used to target human rights defenders, to try and scare them to commit human rights violations against these human rights defenders.
Amnesty International has even gone to court today trying to get that firm's export license revoked so that its spyware can't be used abroad. Thomas Daig, CBC News, London.
As we head to break, here's a look at where the markets closed today. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This market update is brought to you by SSQ Insurance, reminding you that stronger communities make every person stronger.
Rapper Smoke Dogg was shot and killed on Queen Street nearly a year ago, one of the first murders in what would be a violent summer in our city. Tonight on the National's continuing series about guns in Canada, Terrence McKenna takes a look at the neighborhood gang rivalries in Toronto and how they're played out through music videos.
Smoke Dogg and his Regent Park group Halal Gang had hit the big time in 2017. He rapped about his success, about the money that was suddenly pouring in.
Count it up, we count it up, doing shows.
He sang that all he wanted was a better life for his family, and especially his mother.
I'm just trying to buy my mama a bigger house, bigger truck.
Smoke Dogg was so successful he was featured on a Yonge Street billboard for Converse sneakers.
I remember taking trips with all of my homies that passed away just to Yonge Street. We'll see the billboards and whatnot. So like for us now to be on that billboard, especially like a couple streets down from my neighborhood, it shows like we came from nothing, like, you know what I'm saying?
But all that popularity brought jealousy.
It's part of the game. It's an inevitability that even whether it's hip hop or whatever, you're gonna get super popular. People see your face everywhere. Even if you're not rich, they might assume you're rich, and there's gonna be jealousy.
The hostility to Smoke Dogg was elevated beyond rap lyrics.
Count it up, count it up, count it up.
Like many rappers, his videos featured his personal chain. After one of his concerts, someone stole the chain.
A chain grab can lead to shootings and murder. So you don't just have a chain grab anymore. You have a chain grab where the gang then goes onto social media and brags about the chain grab.
I'm rolling, pussy got his chain stolen on the beat.
Smoke Dogg's chain suddenly showed up in the videos of a competing rapper from the rival West End Toronto neighborhood of Alexandra Park.
If I can take your chain and then still have it later on and then go online and say I have your chain, that means however tough that you said you were, you're not, because I have your chain. Right? And what that does to a rapper's, or what that can do to a rapper's career, that can kill a rapper's career.
Why?
From the public perception of a fan, they might be like, oh, he's not as gangster as I thought he was. And, you know, the kids sitting in the suburbs, they want the person that they're listening to be as gangster as possible so that they can live vicariously through that, right? So now they're like, oh, well, he's not gangster, I'm not gonna listen to his stuff anymore. Streams go down.
You can watch Terrence McKenna's full doc on The National tonight. That's at 9 p.m. on CBC News Network, on CBC Gem, and after the hockey game, you can watch it right here on CBC Television. A Canadian is among at least 4 people who died in a mid-air collision between 2 planes in Alaska. 10 people were injured. Global Affairs has not released the Canadians' identity. They were on a sightseeing trip yesterday when the planes crashed and went down in open water. It happened during daylight hours off Alaska's south coast. The victims were among 14 people aboard a pair of de Havilland float planes.
The de Havilland Otter that went into the water, that aircraft is found fairly intact. The de Havilland Beaver, on the other hand, has a debris field of about 2,600 feet long.
The planes were owned by 2 small companies based in Ketchikan. They were carrying tourists from the Royal Princess cruise ship traveling from Vancouver to Anchorage. The operator, Princess Cruises, issued a statement saying it is deeply saddened and sending thoughts and prayers to the victims and their families. U.S. federal investigators are on the scene to find out why the planes collided. The United States and Russia both say they've been keen to repair their damaged relationship. Today, U.S. Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, went to Sochi to meet with the Russian president and foreign minister. They struggled to find common ground on several issues, though. Most pointedly, Russian meddling in U.S. elections. Stephen D'Souza has more.
I'm here today because President Trump is committed to improving this relationship.
Sitting across from an uneasy adversary, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo offered to build bridges with Russia, a feeling reciprocated by Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov.
There is a potential for mutually beneficial cooperation, and it largely remains untapped.
There were more friendly gestures when Pompeo met Vladimir Putin. The Russian president said he feels Donald Trump genuinely wants to repair battered relations. Standing in the way, a host of world hotspots, in which the 2 powers find themselves on opposite sides. On Venezuela, today Russia stood by its support of dictator Nicolas Maduro, while the U.S. was firm in its backing of opposition leader Juan Guaido. The 2 sides also discussed impasses on Iran, North Korea, and their nuclear weapons arsenals. Then there was the elephant in the room, Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. presidential election. Both Putin and Lavrov denied it ever happened.
Until we have cold, hard facts on the table, we cannot have a grown-up discussion about it.
While Lavrov portrayed Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation as a mere bump in the road towards greater cooperation, Pompeo offered a warning.
Interference in American elections is unacceptable. If the Russians were to engage in that in 2020, it would put our relationship in an even worse place than it has been.
Democrats have called for the Trump administration to take a hard line with Russia. This analyst says Pompeo took a more passive approach.
I think Pompeo was basically trying to call out the Russians, but to do so in a way that left the door open for continued discussion.
Those future discussions may come soon. Today, Russia said it would welcome a chance for President Putin to meet with Trump when the 2 attend the G20 summit next month in Japan. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, New York.
Enjoying the double digits, even with the rain. It would be nice to have them with some sunshine, but we'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take anything we can right now to get these temperatures warmed up. And we're going to see that tomorrow. It's going to be nice to have temperatures back to seasonal readings. So overnight tonight, partly cloudy skies to mostly clear, 6 degrees. It's that southwesterly to westerly wind that's going to be helping us out. Yes, we have to take it with a chance of seeing some showers tomorrow, primarily into the afternoon, early evening hours. They should be very widely scattered, so it's not going to rain everywhere, and up to 18 degrees for us tomorrow afternoon. It'll be a little cooler on Thursday, but we've got sunshine on Thursday, and we've got that weekend coming up. Something about a long weekend, I
May
think.
May 2-4 or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, well, it looks like the temperatures will be in those mid-upper teens and maybe even by Monday into the 20s, so.
Not warm enough for me to do the show in shorts yet, but it's coming.
Oh, come on.
All
You
right.
get to put some
and the
flip-flops
sandals.
on.
Just shoot me from up here, guys. That's our show for tonight. Thank you for watching. We'll have your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. Have a great night, everybody.